You think you're connected? Rubbish. You're just lonely. We traded the smell of Blockbuster for this digital cage. If you want to remember what real freedom felt like, hit that like button. You think the silence of the weekend started with the internet, but you are wrong. There was a ritual to Friday nights that Netflix can never replace. We walked to Blockbuster or the local video shop with a membership card in hand. The smell of that blue carpet and the popcorn is burned into our mind. We spent an hour arguing over a VHS tape just to find it was rented out. Be kind. Rewind was a commandment we all obeyed without question. It wasn't just a movie, it was an event we shared together in the same room. Now we scroll endlessly through thumbnails alone in the dark. Before the golden arches took over every corner, we had the red booths of Wimpy. It was the only place you ate a burger with a knife and fork on a china plate. The bender in a bun and the knickerbocker, glory, were the height of luxury. It felt like a treat for the family, not just cheap fuel to eat in the car. The red ketchup bottles shaped like tomatoes sat on every sticky table. We lost our manners when we started eating out of paper bags on the move. If you needed clothes for school or a coat for winter, you went to C&A. The Clockhouse collection made us feel like fashion icons for a tenner. We laughed at the rainbow logo, but we all wore the clothes with pride. It was reliable and it was everywhere until one day it just packed up and left. The gap it left on the high street has never really been filled by the cheap brands. Then there was the giant that lit up the street on a dark, rainy evening. BHS wasn't just a shop, it was an institution for the British working class. We dragged our feet through the lighting department, mesmerized by the chandeliers. The cafe served tea in metal pots and food that stuck to your ribs on a cold day. It stood for decades until greed stripped it bare and threw it away like rubbish. We watched the staff crying on the news and felt a knot in our stomachs. It was the end of an era where staff stayed for life and knew your name. We didn't realize that when these shops died, a part of our routine died too. The high street used to be a place to meet, not just a place to buy. Now, the windows are dark and the memories are fading fast. But the biggest loss wasn't a shop, it was a book we all worshipped. For the children of the 90s, nothing beat the weight of the Book of Dreams. The Argos catalogue was the Bible of Christmas and birthdays for every kid. We circled the toys we wanted with tiny blue pencils on slips of paper. Waiting for your number to be called was the most tense moment of the week. It taught us patience in a world that now demands everything instantly. The conveyor belt brought out our happiness in a brown cardboard box. Now, the laminated book is gone and the magic has turned into a soulless clip. On the edge of town, there was a magical warehouse guarded by a giraffe. Toys. Us was a cathedral of plastic that stretched to the ceiling. Running down those aisles was the closest we got to heaven on earth. You could get lost in the mountains of board games and bikes for hours. When the doors closed, it felt like childhood itself had filed for bankruptcy. We didn't buy tech online, we went to Comet or Dixon's to touch it first. The walls of televisions, all playing the same channel, were hypnotic to watch. We turned the knobs on the stereos and dreamed of owning a massive hi-fi. The salesman was a person you could haggle with, not a chatbot on a screen. We spent weekends browsing for things we couldn't afford, just to dream. Remember the heavy thud of the yellow pages landing on your doormat? It was how we found a plumber or a takeaway before Google existed. We stood on it to reach the cookie jar and used it to prop open doors. It was a physical connection to the world outside our front door. Now the information is free, but the connection feels cheaper. We didn't need to charge our lives every night because things were simple. The landline was our lifeline and it was tethered to the wall in the hall. You had to sit on the stairs and whisper so your parents wouldn't hear. Privacy was something you had to fight for, not something you gave away. We memorized phone numbers because we didn't have a contact. If nobody answered, you just had to call back later and hope. The uncertainty made the connection mean so much more when it happened. We are connected to everything now, but we have never been more lonely. The tools changed, but I think we lost something vital in the upgrade. We traded the awkward human moments for cold efficiency. We checked the football scores on CFAX, watching the page numbers spin round. It was the internet before the internet, slow and blocky and beautiful. You booked a holiday on a screen that looked like a jagged digital painting. The test card girl and the clown were the only company on a sick day. Then there was the quiet electric hum that woke us up before the alarm. The milkman was the guardian of the street in the early morning mist. The clink of glass bottles was the sound of a world that was working correctly. He knew when we were on holiday, just by looking at the untouched steps. We didn't need security cameras because the neighbors were always watching out for us. We knocked on doors to see if people were playing out. We didn't send a text. The rule was simple. You stayed out until the street lights flickered on. We grazed our knees on the pavement and drank water from the garden hose. Now, the streets are empty and the kids are safe inside a digital cage. We have swapped the smell of the high street for the cold glow of a screen. We have everything we want delivered tomorrow, but nothing to look forward to. The excitement of the trip is gone and we are poorer for it. The ghosts of these shops are still standing there in the crumbling brickwork. If you listen closely, you can still hear the hum of the old neon sign. We didn't just lose shops, we lost the rhythm of our daily lives. We traded the human touch for fast delivery and forgot the true cost. The high street wasn't just commerce, it was where we learned to be people. Now, the shutters are down and the conversation has stopped forever. We are the generation that remembers the world before it went quiet. And sometimes in the silence, I think we would give anything to go back, just for one more hour in the aisles of a shop that no longer exists.